Hey, you want to have a little bit of fun today? Let's have a little bit of fun. Remember a few weeks ago I made those pickups out of old square cut nails? Well, I made a guitar for them right there. And I got this old Gibson right here. And we're going to listen to them. We're going to talk about pickups a little bit. We're going to talk about some other pickups too that I made, as well as compared to some factory made ones, because I'm learning some stuff and I thought you might want to learn some stuff too. So as you may or may not know, I've been making my own pickups now for over a year, I guess. I've been really getting into that because I want to control every aspect of the guitars that I make here. And so I've been doing some experiments. I've been, creating my own recipes, and I've been doing that with just, a small amount of knowledge. But like anything, the more you know, the more you learn that there is to learn. And I'm learning more about making pickups. So I'm going to share with you what I've been learning. So one of the things that I kept seeing in comments from people that are much more knowledgeable than me, and again, if you're looking for people more knowledgeable than me, you don't have to look far. They're all over YouTube and the internet. But one of the things that people were commenting on some of my pickup videos that were interested in them, and they were saying, well, you should get an LCR meter so you can get some more accurate readings besides just reading the resistance on them. Because, we're talking about tone, which is a subjective thing, but there are some sort of mathematical measurements that we can make to help us understand what's happening. I'm going to try to say this correctly in a real basic layman's terms. Hopefully I'm getting it right. But so basically, when I'm measuring resistance, what that is I'm measuring the opposition of the electrical current, like all the things that are trying to fight it. And so that's what, like, you can see the pickup says 7k ohms resistance. That's what that means. Then there's also this thing called capacitance, which is the ability to store energy. So a capacitor is actually like pulling energy and hanging on to it. And then there's this thing called inductance, which is the ability of basically the energy that's being created or being stored or used in the thing, right? And that's measured in henries. And so today we want to measure henries as well as our resistance on some pickups. And the best I can sort of understand, because now we get into the gray area of like tone, because that's subjective and stuff. But so basically, the higher the number is in henries, the warmer and fuller supposedly you're going to get for a sound, whereas the lower numbers are going to be like the brighter, like screechier kind of pickups is the idea. So like if you take I guess a standard issue like Stratocaster single coil pickup is like around like 2-ish henries, whereas like a humbucker is more like twice that, which is why they sound a little warmer and fuller. But so I got a bunch of pickups here. Some are some stuff that I have laying around, and some are stuff that I made. We're going to look at them and compare some numbers. We're going to do the same with my square cut nail pickups compared to some real vintage Gibson pickups, and we're going to listen to them too, because actually that's the most important test, right? Okay, let's start with some loosies. Here's what we've got today. I've got this humbucker that's like a kind of like a metalheady kind of hot humbucker. Got a kind of Telecaster-y sort of pickup there. We got a lace pickups, Deathbucker alumifoil or alumitone, whatever these things are called. That should be kind of interesting because it's totally different and it's made differently. Got a couple I wound. Here's like a single coil bass pickup that I make. And then I've got the ones that I'm really interested to see some readings on. This is my sort of gold foil replication that I make, the $2 bill foil. And this other service mount pickup I make, the dumpster diver. So apparently, besides like the type of copper wire and how tightly it's wrapped and how many wraps there are and stuff, which gives you some resistance and numbers and stuff, part of these other numbers are based on magnets, and I do not know what magnets are in these. This definitely looks like a ceramic, but I don't know if these are Alnico 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever's in there. I'm not really pretending this is super scientific. We're just kind of having some fun here. But I do know for my pickups, I know that these are Alnico 5s. And both of these pickups, this is a ceramic. And this is actually a neodymium magnet in here. Oh, I forgot. I wanted to check out these of my pickups too. This is one of the original pallet nail buckers. And then I have my Ukrainian rail, which is a ceramic magnet. Just for fun, let's start with the Telecaster pickup. And we'll connect this and see my henries. I have 2, which is what's expected for a Strat style or Tele style single coil pickup. And then our 6.85, 6.84 is our resistance on this lovely 70-degree and rainy day. Those numbers make sense. That's what that pickup is supposed to have. Now here's this like really crazy hot pickup, our high resistance at 15.63, and our henries on this are 8.4. So now we know. So now let's take a look at this this alumitone thing, which is made very different. It doesn't have coils. They're made a little bit differently. And we'll see what kind of readings we get from this. Whoa. Wicked high henries and very low resistance, so less opposition. So now let's look at some of the ones I made. Here is my bass pickup, which is A5 magnets, and this is made with 42 gauge wire, about 10,000 winds, and we got 3.66 for our Henrys, which is good, but we want to have some change in color in there too, and 7.8 K resistance. So these are numbers that make sense to what this pickup is designed to do. Let's move on now to this ceramic magnet Ukrainian rail pickup. This says using 43 gauge wire and a ceramic pickup, so we should be getting some different numbers. Yeah, see, this is a lot brighter, and I think these only have 6,500 winds if I remember correctly, so that's more like a Strat style, pretty bright pickup, and similar like Strat style, Fender style resistance. Okay, so here I have one of my original nail humbuckers, which was modeled after the Gibson PAF, but made my own crazy way with nails and stuff. And so you can see we got 7.7, but you can actually, well, here, and we'll check the Henrys too. 7.7 K resistance and a whopping 4.66 Henry, so it's a pretty high number. This pickup is designed to have a coil split, so you can actually just use half the pickup and use it like a single coil. And here, a single coil, you see the Henrys drop down to that Strat range of 2.5, and then our resistance also drops really low to like a 4.23. So it's kind of interesting, right? But now let's do the real wild cards here, the pickups that are pretty unique. First, we'll do this, which, like I said, is loosely based on the gold foil pickups of the Teisco Del Rey era with the ceramic magnet, 44K, 44 gauge wire, and this metal box, which is going to directly affect everything. And so you can see, look at that, our resistance is low at about 5.76, and let's see what our Henrys are. Real low and bright. That's accurate. That's what this pickup sounds like. This is sort of a similar concept using that 44 gauge wire, but I'm using a neodymium magnet, so it's got a much stronger magnetic pull, and we're using wood instead of metal, so it's not as alive on the case. And we'll see our Henrys are twice as high, but still low because it's a single coil. And our resistance is a lot higher. This Gibson L6S is special to me. So you know that guy Mick that shows up in my videos sometimes? He owns the Red Room Sound Studio up in Torrington, Connecticut. This was his guitar, and this was the guitar he was playing the day I met him in 7th grade when we were 12 years old, and we both joined the 7th grade jazz band together. So he's had this guitar. This was his first guitar. He's had it since a kid, and when my son was born, he gave it to me for my son to learn guitar on because he wanted to see that sort of tradition carry on. What makes this great for a kid is that it's a 24.75 inch scale, so it's a little shorter, but it also has, the neck is very skinny and fragile because it's a Gibson. But so it's very small and easy to play guitar, perfect for young guitar players. And I've tried to give it back to him several times over the years because Vance is more interested in drums and doesn't really play guitar, but he doesn't want it back. He just wants me to have it, so I'm more than happy to have it. And now we get to play with it in this video. So the L6S has got these sort of, I think they're called super humbuckers that they put in them originally. And unfortunately, they also had this kind of cool like 6-way selector switch that is long gone. So we just have it wired with a regular 3-way toggle now. But so this is the original pickup to it. And the neck pickup I have, but it's got a bad wire in it somewhere, and it's all epoxied and stuff. It needs to be taken apart and rewound, which I'm not ready to do yet. So instead, I had this Gibson PAF pickup in my collection. This is a real Gibson pickup, and it's actually a neck pickup based on the pole positions, but because this L6S is so small and narrower here than most guitars, the neck one actually works really well on the bridge. You can see those poles lined up real nice. So now I'll tell you really quick about this guitar. This is the Liberator. It's a little dusty. Everything's dusty in my shop. This is the Liberator body style of mine. It's a dual humbucker, obviously, setup, 25.5 inch scale, and this one's got a pallet wood top and a maple back. This is a local maple back. And a poplar maple neck. This guitar is all maple. So these are actually pretty similar guitars in construction in a lot of ways, despite the scale. That's a bolt-on versus a set. But you know, they're in the same family. Our Henrys on this guitar, the Henrys for the neck pickup were at 3.66, and then on this guitar 6.4. On this guitar on the treble are 7.2 versus 4.1. So draw your own conclusions what that means. So now let's check our resistance. And this was the number that I was actually paying attention to as I made these. And so now you see our resistance is 8 on the bridge and 7.1 on the neck. And again, for comparison, 8.3 on the neck, 8.46 on the bridge. So similar. But so that's a bunch of numbers. Let's listen to them now. So much for keeping the dust off this stuff. Let's fire up the reverber rocket, and maybe I'll bust out my pedal board and we'll do some stuff with that too. In case you don't know me, I want to tell you something and reiterate something for people that do know me. I have absolutely zero interest in recreating your favorite guitars. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, there's all these amazing guitars that have been made throughout history that have revolutionized the world in music, and they're fantastic. And I have vintage guitars myself, as you can see, and I love them and I respect them and appreciate them, but I don't want to recreate them or make them. That doesn't make any sense to me. There's already all these companies out there making them. Why would I? So what I'm trying to do is find my own voice in the instrument building world via the materials that I use and the way that they play and the way they sound, the way they feel. But you do need to know the rules before you can break them, and that's why I have interest in comparing the stuff that I'm making to the other stuff that's out there. Like when I had never wound a pickup, I had no place to start besides with what other companies had done in the past. And so I used those as sort of launching pads to approach the art form myself and find my own voice in it and say, well, okay, they were doing that. I wonder what happens if I do this. I wonder if I could make this have that instead. And so through this process, you find what works, you find what don't work, you learn, you grow, and every once in a while you find something magical. And that's what I'm always kind of hoping will happen. And sometimes it does. I find something really special and magical. So with all that in mind, we're going to listen to these two guitars, and if they sound exactly alike, that means that I failed, honestly, right? But what I want to do is I want to show that they can be in the same family and be in the same ballpark and have, their own unique voices, but then also both be like playable professional sounding instruments, made the way I'm doing it. And so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to play the same thing on each of these guitars, and you can just listen to them and hear them. And, better or worse is up to you. If everybody liked my stuff, that'd be weird, man. I don't expect everybody to like my stuff. You might think the Gibson sounds better. You might think mine sounds better. You might not care, but just think that they both sound unique and different. Or maybe you think they both sound exactly the same. I don't know, but we're going to find out. I'm going to have the same settings on the pedal board, same settings on the amp, and with the same pickup position and, the knobs just all the way up on the guitar. I'm going to play a riff, and I'm going to play the same riff on the other guitar. Same settings. Do a couple of them. And we'll just leave it at that. I'm just going to use this condenser mic that's just going to record the room. Not going to get too carried away. And we'll just listen to it in the room, man. I'll play loud. It'll be fun. Let's do it. they sound different? Absolutely. Does one sound better than the other? That's completely subjective. Everybody's going to have a different opinion. But do they do the job? Sure, they both do the job. Did I just save the world by figuring out a way to make pickups out of like reclaimed wood and nails that are comparable to things that are made in factories? Of course not. But the point is, whenever I do experiments like this, is like, just because something's always been done a certain way doesn't mean it's the only way it can be done, and that there's still room for growth and development and innovation, and we can keep sustainability, and we can keep costs and manufacturing practices and stuff, whether it's shipped overseas or done here. We can keep all those things in mind while we're innovating and finding things, and figure out where we can maybe make a sacrifice for the betterment of this to make something better over here. There's so much more room. Just because it's the way it's always been done doesn't mean it's the only way to do it. Geez, I wonder if that applies to other aspects of life. Thanks a lot and be good.